Namaste. Before following any of the practices suggested in this video, it is always recommended that you consult with your doctor as to its suitability, especially if you have any health problems or conditions. Yamajit, John Hollinsby Mayer, and Tridevi Chamunda Mandir cannot be held responsible for any injuries or damages incurred as a result of the exercises and meditations contained in this video. Namaste. And welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado. I'm Yamajit, and I'm so glad that you could join me this evening for our Tuesday satsang. So we're mainly going to be focused around chapter 2 of the Kriya Yoga Upanishad, the section that deals with the observances, the niyamas. We worked with the yamas, the restrictions last week. So we're going to begin with some meditation, a real simple, gentle yoga sequence for anxiety. And then we'll go right into our scriptural study. And then we're going to be doing a final meditation called a Manasa Puja. That is, we're going to be doing the puja within our minds. This is a very powerful form of both devotion and meditation. So glad you could join me. Quick announcement before we actually get started. So this coming Friday, we'll be doing a Yoga Nidra meditation in addition to our Devi Puja. And you're welcome, as always, to join us at 7 o'clock on Friday for a live broadcast, or you're welcome to come here to our temple at 1260 South Xavier Street in Denver, Colorado. And very much looking forward to that. So to begin, I invite you to find a comfortable seated position. You can be sitting on your yoga mat, maybe with a cushion behind your hips so that your back is straight, or even in a chair if that would be more comfortable for you. And I invite you to sit comfortably. Close your eyes, or if you prefer that you keep your eyes open, you can just maintain a soft gaze under partially closed eyes. And just begin breathing deeply. So in this body scan meditation, we'll be breathing deeply and focusing our breath and awareness on different areas of the body. And this is an opportunity for you to just simply focus on the sensations that you experience in those areas at the given moment. So as we go through this meditation, whenever you might feel yourself becoming distracted, just bring yourself back to the sensations that are in the moment. So I invite you to begin breathing. Focus your breath and your attention on the inside of your head. Just focus on the inside of the head and any sensations that you might or might not notice. You may feel light, may feel heavy. You may feel loose, you may feel tension, maybe certain feelings or emotions come up. No right or wrong, just experience what's in the moment. And then begin to focus on the throat and the back of the neck, also the mouth and the lower jaw as well. Again, just focusing breath and attention on those areas and just witnessing whatever comes into your realm of awareness. And then let your attention drop to your upper back and your shoulders. And again, just noticing the sensations, including being aware of any areas that feel blank or disconnected or no sensation at all. And let your attention drop to your arms and your elbows, your wrists, your hands and your fingers. Just being aware of the sensation there. Do they feel light? Do they feel heavy? Do you feel as if there's something you're carrying or something that you're letting go of? And then let your focus and your breath drop now to your chest and mid-back area. Focusing especially on the heart center and the diaphragm. The sensations and the sounds of air as it enters and leaves the chest cavity. And then bring your awareness down to your abdomen, your stomach area. Breathing in and out of the belly and just being aware of those sensations there. We include the lower back as well. And then let your awareness drop now to the bowl of the pelvis, pelvic floor, the genital area, the hips, and then finally, bring your awareness into your legs, into your knees, into your calves, ankles, feet, and toes. Just focusing on the lower extremities and the sensations that are there. And then finally, let your breath and your attention be with your entire body as a whole. And just let yourself be aware of those areas where it's easy to breathe and to focus. And those areas where maybe it's not so easy. Maybe those areas where you feel blocked or tense or empty. And then finally, bring your breath and attention to your heart center. And begin to silently connect with whatever form of the divine you're closest to. And just be aware of that constant presence of that divine consciousness within yourself. You can ask that divine within to help in healing some issue in your life. Or you can make the sankalpa, the intention for the energies of this practice to go towards someone close to you who's in need. And that includes our friend Achala and her mother, who is currently still in hospital. And then bringing the palms of your hands together at heart center, let's open our yoga practice and our discussion and our meditation by chanting Om 3 times. Inhale. Inhale and exhale. Slowly open your eyes. And just feel the effects of this opening practice. And make any micro adjustments you might want to make to continue to sit comfortably. And then bringing your peace fingers on your right hand to your third eye. Bringing your thumb against the right side of your nose so you can inhale through the left nostril. And blocking the left nostril with your ring finger. And we're going to exhale and inhale through the right. And then switching sides. And then just going back and forth. One more inhalation. Exhalation and inhalation through the right side. And a final exhalation through the right. Bringing your right hand back to your lap. And again, just taking a moment and feeling the effects of this very relaxing pranayama practice called Nadi Shodhana, also known as Alum Balum Pranayama, balancing the dynamic and receptive sides of our being. And then inhaling, raising the right hand. Exhale, bringing the right hand to the floor. Inhale, windmilling the left arm around, keeping both sits bones in place, keeping the left shoulder back, and flexing gently to the right side, breathing. Reaching with that left arm. And inhale, pressing up. And taking a couple of breaths. And then inhale, raising the left arm. Exhale, bringing the hand to the mat. Inhale, windmilling the right arm around, keeping the shoulder back, both sits bones in place, reaching with that right arm. Breathing. And inhale up. Take a couple of breaths again, just to feel the effects of the practice. And then inhale, we're going to raise the left arm again. Exhale, bringing it to the right knee. Inhale, kickstanding the right arm around, bringing the fingers to the mat and twisting gently to the right side. Breathing. Turning the head, looking over the left shoulder. And then inhale and exhale, coming back to center. Take a couple of breaths. Just letting the anxieties and the tensions of the day just slip away. Letting the concerns of the future just slip away. Just being here in the moment, in the present. And then inhale, raising the right arm overhead. Exhale, bringing it to the left knee. Inhale, kickstanding the left arm around, bringing the fingers to the mat and twisting gently to the left. Turning the head to look over the right shoulder and breathe. And then inhale. Exhale, coming forward. Take a couple of breaths. And now bringing your left hand to your right knee, left hand to your right knee and right to your left. Inhale tall, and then exhale, just bend forward. Breathing while letting the torso and head just go limp. Relaxing, coming deeper into the pose. And inhale, pressing up and switching arms. Inhaling tall. And exhale, bending forward and just relaxing the head, neck, and the torso while you breathe. Coming deeper as body and breath allows. Inhale, pressing up. Coming back to simple sitting. Take a couple of breaths. And then finding a safe way to transition to your hands and knees, coming to tabletop pose. Your knees are stacked under your hips. Back to the feet against the mat. Hands are stacked under the shoulders, slight bend to the elbows. And inhale, bringing the chin, chest, and head up. And exhale, flexing the back, letting the head hang loose. And we're just going to do some rounds of cat-cow, gentle flowing movements. Flexing the spine gently and carefully, forwards and backwards. Let's do two more. Resting for a couple of breaths in tabletop. And tucking the toes under, engaging the legs and the arms. And coming up in downward facing dog. Heels coming toward the mat, slight bend in the knees and the elbows. Upper arms are rotated outwards, tailbone tucked. Head and neck are loose, breathing. Pedal your feet a little bit to stretch out the backs of the legs. And then inhale, exhale, bringing the knees back to the mat. Backs of the feet against the mat. And then inhale and exhale, sliding the arms forward, bringing the forehead to the mat. And resting in Balasana or Child's Pose. Just relaxing into the pose. And then engaging your arms to come back up into tabletop. Take a couple of breaths. And then just find a safe way to transition back into simple sitting and prepare for our lesson today. So, when we make a discussion of the first two limbs of yoga, the yamas, which are the restrictions, and the niyamas, yeah, so yamas restrictions, niyamas the observations. There's a story I'd like to share that I think really embodies the meaning of those first two limbs of yoga that Patanjali described about 2,000 years ago. We need to go back another 500 years, 2,500 years ago, and the life of this man here, whose image we have on my right side, and that is the life of Gautama Buddha. So he was born in what is today Lumbini in Nepal. My wife and I had the privilege of visiting there back in the fall of 2018. And he was born as a prince in a royal court. And it was typical for a member of the royal family at that time to, when they're born, the court astrologers are called in to cast his horoscope. And their prediction was that they reported to his father, the king, was that there were two ways that he could go in his life. He could be this mighty warrior king who would unite all of India, and his father really liked that idea. Or he'd become this very wise teacher who would give salvation to millions. And his father wasn't quite as crazy about that idea. So his father decreed that as his son grew up, that he would never leave the grounds of the palace. He would never be sad. He would have his every wish granted the moment that he asked. And so he grew up in this very pampered environment. When he came of age, he married the most beautiful girl in the kingdom. The two of them had a son together. But he was always curious about what happened, what was going on outside those palace walls. And so one night he snuck over the wall, started walking around the surrounding village, and the first three things that he saw just completely blew his mind. The first thing he saw was a man who was old. The second thing he saw was a man who was sick, maybe somebody who had leprosy, perhaps. And then the third thing he saw was a corpse. And at that point, he just had to find out the meaning of this. And so he joined an order of ascetics. There's some debate whether they were sadhus, followers of wandering monks who were followers of Lord Shiva, or they were among the Jain monks who walked around naked, performing different austerities. But he became very dedicated to this path, and he would spend long, long periods fasting and denying himself. He wouldn't sleep under any kind of shelter. He'd be open to the elements all the time. And one day when he was in the middle of these fasts, a little girl came up and offered him a crust of bread, and without thinking, he immediately grabbed it and ate it. And at that point, he was just horrified. He thought, I've been practicing all this time and I failed. And so he thought to himself, well, living in constant happiness, having my every wish granted, certainly wasn't as satisfying as some people might think. And on the other hand, a life of complete asceticism doesn't really work either. And so he decided to sit under this tree, Bodhi tree, and meditate and try to make sense out of things. And after many, many days, maybe weeks, maybe months of doing this, he came to the realization that in life, we can't just stay on one extreme. The true path was a middle path. And so in that experience, he learned four noble truths. The first truth was that all of life was suffering. Even pleasure was suffering, because at some point you know the party's going to end. What causes suffering? Unfulfilled desires. So the third truth, to get rid of suffering, we reduce, if not alleviate, desires. So if we can accept what we have and stop wanting more, we can become happy. And the path to doing that was the fourth noble truth, what is known as the eightfold path. So this is the method for breaking this cycle of suffering. So the first is right view, seeing and understanding things again as they really are, not as we wish them to be. Second is right intention, conducting ourselves in an ethical manner for the good of the whole. Right speech, being truthful, being honest, not going into the trap of gossip or hurtful speech. Right action, acting in a non-hurtful and honest manner, not harming ourselves or others. Right livelihood, making our livings in an ethical, non-harming way. Finding a profession where we're helping others. Right effort, sixth of the Eightfold Path, working to prevent unwholesomeness, unbalanced states, trying to find a more harmonious way of living. Right mindfulness, and we were doing some practice of that just now. Contemplation of the body, contemplation of our feelings and emotions, contemplation of what's happening in the moment, and then right concentration, the practice of meditation. And now to add a more tantric element to this, we began in our meditation, or we ended the body scan by focusing on our heart center and connecting with that divine presence within ourselves, and also realizing that the divine is in everything surrounding us as well. And if we can do those things, that eightfold path just kind of falls into place naturally. So if we're being guided by that divine principle, we're naturally going to do things that are most healthy and most balanced for ourselves, and also how we treat others as well, because we recognize others as manifestations of the divine as well. So that brings us to our second chapter of the Kriya Yoga Upanishad. I want to back up just a little bit before we go into that second chapter, because something suddenly occurred to me pretty much after I turned the camera off. So the Upanishad starts out as a dialogue between two individuals. There is the student who is named Sanskriti, and he's consulting a guru, or actually she, I should say, is consulting a guru named Dattatreya, and Dattatreya is the threefold form of Shiva. So we have a feminine person, Sanskriti, that I on the end indicates a feminine name. And so this is really in the same structure as many of the tantric scriptures, where it's a dialogue between Lord Shiva and the Divine Mother, Shakti. And really, when you read such tantric works as, let's say, the Vijnan Bhairava Tantra, for example, or the Kulanarva Tantra, it almost seems like Lord Shiva is sitting an exam. Ma Devi is coaxing the information out of him so that we can learn from it. It's rather similar to the last scripture that we looked at in some of our previous broadcasts, the Devi Gita, where the main objective was for Ma Devi to manifest in this world and bring Lord Shiva out of meditation, so to a very deep state of meditation, in order to restore balance in the world. And so we go within, we access that divine consciousness, but it's just as important that when we do that, we bring that outwards and share it. So the first chapter, we looked at the yamas, the restraints, and the niyamas include non-harming, not lying, not stealing, not to dissipate, not to be violent, not to be restless, not to be insipid, not to be weak, not to be gluttonous, not to be unclean. So again, a lot of what those 8 noble paths embrace. And we also see within the 8 noble paths the niyamas, the observances. So chapter 2, the Kriya Yoga Upanishad. The spiritual observances of yoga are, there are 5 primary spiritual observances: asceticism, contentment, clear concept of reality, generosity, and devotion. The secondary spiritual observances, 6 through 10, include the value of sacred texts, humility, ego abnegation, constant meditation, and consistency. Asceticism is fasting at prescribed times. True asceticism is questioning the how and the why of human transmigration, thus finding the means of liberating yourself from meaningless incarnations. And those can include different lifetimes, and that can also include breaking the chain of manifestations in your life where you're repeating the same pattern over and over and over again, even though that particular behavior or pattern or habit is no longer serving you. Be content with what you earn. Be content with what life gives you, yet continue to improve life. Through renunciation, enjoy life until you have uncovered reality. To comprehend reality is to understand that the universe exists. This can be understood through yoga, scriptures, mystical tradition, and direct insight. Generosity means giving to souls and sages what they have truly earned. Devotion to truth means speaking without lying, acting without violence, and freeing yourself from passions and covetousness. Awareness of the value of sacred texts means being aware of eternal joy, of infinite wisdom, and of the permanence of the reality of this world. This is very much a path of direct experience, a path of knowledge, a path of learning. Humility is avoiding any action disproved by sacred texts or performed because of weakness. Abandonment of ego means reliance on sacred texts and holding to knowledge under all circumstances. This includes guarding yourself against the guru as tempter, teaching you to just simply believe rather than to know. Don't just accept things on blind faith. Find the knowledge. Constant meditation is prescribed by the scriptures, sacred texts, and spiritual gurus. You can pray in one of two ways, aloud or silently. If aloud, it can be with ordinary words or with special mystical sounds called mantras. If mentally, it can be thought or mantra. The other way is by means of wordless, mantraless meditation. And actually, we opened with an example of that, just simply meditating on the breath and the sensations in the different areas of the body. Praying in a clear voice acquires benefits promised by scriptures. However, meditation mantra is far more effective and wise. Mental meditation is 1,000 times more effective than mantra meditation. And speaking of gurus, when the need arises, so does the teacher. And so the guru can manifest in numerous ways in our lives. An actual teacher, even a friend who's got sound advice at the moment. Maybe the right book suddenly comes into your hand. If not a physical guru, maybe learning from the teachings of somebody who may have as long since left his or her body, but the words are meaningful to you. And I was just thinking about that because of my bookmark. This is a leaf from a peepal tree, the tree in Delhi, under which Gandhi was assassinated. So there's some very special guru energy in my bookmark for my scriptures. So that final verse, the power of mental observances. For our devotional practice and our meditation, we're going to do a Manasa Puja, a mental puja. I've got a little altar set up here, and I'm going to do it literally, but I'm going to talk you through the steps in a guided meditation of doing it in your mind's eye and within your heart. And it's going to be an opportunity to get very close to whatever form of the divine you're closest to. And if you're not particularly sure who your Ishtadevata, who your patron deity is, he or she may manifest as part of that meditation. That's always a possibility. So I invite you now to close your eyes. Sit comfortably with a straight back, either on your mat, cushion, in a chair. You could also lie on your back and do this in Shavasana as well, if that feels right. But just breathe and relax. And allow yourself to just go within. Just being within yourself in this moment. And I invite you to imagine yourself in a wooded area, a place out in nature, trees towering overhead, and the sun is beginning to go down, kind of like it is right now in Denver. As the sun begins to sink in the west, behind some clouds, notice that you're surrounded by kind of a light, pinkish light as the sun shines through clouds. And you're walking through the woods, and you come to a meadow area. And in the middle of the meadow is a small stone temple. The door is open. And though dark inside, there's a flame illuminating the inside. And you walk up 3 small stairs toward the door. And you enter the temple. It's a small one-room structure. On the inside walls are painted the images of different saints, including the Buddha and Gandhi and Sri Ramakrishna and Sardama, Nandamai Ma, Babaji. And otherwise, the room is empty, except for a small rectangular altar in the center. And you walk to the center of the room, and you sit down before the altar, and you notice there's some objects upon the altar for which to do a rite of devotion. There's a small brass water pot with a spoon in it. There's a ghee lamp that's been lit, and that's what's been illuminating the room. A small holder for incense. A little bottle of perfume. And some flowers. And an apple. And imagine yourself bringing the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And you're just aware of how good it feels to be in this place at this moment. You feel your heart center opening. And you look up from the altar and something begins to manifest in front of you. First, something that just seems kind of shadowy. But but then taking a physical form. And before you, you see the form of your personal deity, surrounded by light. It may be a form that you feel particularly comfortable with and work with often, or maybe something new altogether, maybe male, maybe female, maybe something that's beyond gender. But notice what your deity is wearing, what ornaments may be worn. Look upon the face of your deity, and also notice any instruments that your deity may be holding in two or multiple arms. But welcome that presence. And know that this personal form of the divine is not just outside of you, but within. And you have this opportunity to give reverence to this form of the divine, and also to receive either a boon or a message. So with your right hand, you reach down to the altar and you pull the spoon from the water pot. You sprinkle some water into your hands and you rub your hands together, and with your right hand, you anoint your third eye and your heart. And you take another spoonful of water and you sprinkle it around the altar, cleansing the objects. And you take a third spoon of water and you sprinkle some water at the feet of your deity as a means of welcome. You then take up the oil lamp, the ghee lamp, with your right hand and you circle it 3 times before your deity, welcoming your deity with the light and blessing yourself with the flame. You then take some incense out of the holder and light it with the flame of the lamp. And with your right hand, you circle the incense 3 times before your deity. And you see your deity smiling with approval and enjoying the scent. Place the incense in the holder. And you take up the spoon of water again and sprinkle a little water on the altar just to cool the atmosphere. You take up the fruit with your right hand and you circle it 3 times before the deity. And you leave it at the feet of your personal divinity. You take up the little bottle of perfume oil and placing some on your middle or ring finger, you anoint the feet of your deity. And then put a little on your own third eye, just establishing that connection. And then finally, you take up the flowers from the altar and you place them at the lotus feet of the deity. And you bow in reverence. And so for the next few minutes, I invite you to breathe deeply and just focus upon the deity before you. And waiting for a message or a boon of some kind. Perhaps your deity will hand you something. Perhaps he or she will tell you something, or something, an idea will just manifest in your mind. But just breathe deeply. And let whatever your deity has to share manifest. And bringing the palms of your hands back together at your heart center, you thank your deity for being here and for everything that has been shared. Giving thanks as you hear the words of the benediction. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You take a deep and clearing breath and watch your deity move and become one with your heart center. What was without is within now. And you acknowledge that that form of the divine is with you always to guide you on your path ahead. You take another deep and clearing breath, becoming aware of your surroundings again. Thanking yourself and giving gratitude for taking this time and doing this practice tonight. Knowing you can do it again whenever you wish, whenever you need. And then taking a third deep clearing breath, slowly opening your eyes. Namaste. Blessings always. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed tonight's practice and meditation, and I look forward to you joining me again on Friday, 7 o'clock, either on YouTube or here in person at our temple. Again, 1260 South Xavier Street, Denver, Colorado, 80219. We'll start promptly at 7 for the sake of the broadcast. And we'll enjoy a Yoga Nidra meditation. So have a wonderful night. Nice restful sleep. Wonderful day ahead. I'll see you soon. Namaste. Jai Mata Di. And good night.